The Interrogation Box by Beige Monkfish.
The prisoner is ready for questioning, sir.
The captain nodded.
Excellent. Has he paid anything yet?
No, sir. He denies all the charges.
All charges?
All charges. Outright refuses to acknowledge anything to do with the incident, despite, of course, the fact that we practically caught him in the act. He's guilty as anything. He hasn't got a chance.
Still, it's not him we're concerned about. This is a very serious case.
Leaning forward on his desk, the captain took one final sip from his mug before setting it down, the magical aura around it dissipating.
Very serious indeed. I trust you understand the seriousness of our situation?
Of course, sir. Seriously serious.
Exactly, Lieutenant.
He said approvingly.
It couldn't be seriouser.
The lieutenant straightened himself.
In our line of work, sir, in the protection of the people, we must deal with each and every case with the utmost care and diligence. I can assure you we will detain all those responsible.
I am serious?
The captain paused, meeting his lieutenant's eyes in an attempt to communicate the seriousness of the situation.
Our prisoners hold the same exceedingly valuable information. Information that the Crown would find very useful indeed.
The captain reclined into his cushion, levitating his mug with him.
We need this information, Lieutenant, by any means necessary.
Yes, sir.
Any means, Lieutenant. Do you understand me?
The lieutenant barely managed to restrain recoiling in shock.
Any, sir?
The captain nodded slowly.
Yes! This information is too important. Any method you see fit, use it.
The lower-ranking guard swallowed.
Good Lord. That is serious.
You can stop saying that now.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
The two guards stood at attention as their superior trotted down the dungeon stairs. Lieutenant Silverwing nodded at the two uniformed unicorns before turning his attention to the cell door behind them. Solid iron and windowless, and set snugly into the stone walls, the dungeon doors were nigh impenetrable even to the most able escapologists. The frame, the hinges, even the small eye-height sliding hatch were saturated in wards to prevent unauthorized access.
Any news?
Silverwing asked, shifting his wings slightly at the cold. His wings were actually white, as was the rest of his coat. He just put his name down to having over-exuberant parents.
No, sir.
The guard on the right answered. Shimmer something, his name was. Even amongst the guards, they often blended in together while on duty.
Not heard a peep from him, since you left, sir.
Not entirely unexpected, though by this point some criminals would often find themselves ranting and raving about how it wasn't fair, how "it weren't me what done it, officer," and odd few occasions reduced to tears. Some, yes, but most prefer to be left to stew. Silverwing knew it wasn't his place to judge. He just did what he was told.
Right, lads. Corporal Freedom will be arriving shortly with a very special delivery. So make sure to let him in. In the meantime, I'd like to warm up the guest before proceedings get underway.
Saluting, the guard on Silver's left, a bulky stallion whose name the lieutenant had never asked, enveloped the iron door in a magical aura. With a click, it unlocked and swung open. With one final nod to his subordinates, Silverwing stepped inside. The cell very much continued the dungeon theme that was prevalent with much of the castle's underground system. A magic crystal lamp hung from the ceiling, casting a light glow on the heavy table anchored to the floor in the dead center of the room. On the closest side of the table to him was a cushion. His cushion. Placed there specifically for the comfort of his posterior. Silverwing placed his posterior on the cushion. The far side of the table was by far the more interesting one. Sitting directly opposite him was a pony, a youngster having barely reached stallionhood. He was lightish yellow in color with a green mane and greener eyes. His cutie mark was concealed by the table he had been hoof-cuffed to, but his file claimed it was a hammer. His eyes followed Silverwing carefully, though the youngster was having difficulty keeping the nervousness off his countenance. While seemingly trying to hide it, he looked thoroughly uncomfortable. It was probably because he didn't have a comfy cushion. Silverwing removed his helmet, letting his long, regulation blue mane fall free of its metal confines. The helmet was placed on the table, seemed to unnerve the offenders. That little bit more, he noticed. He suppressed a sigh, then pulled out a small folder from under his right wing and got straight down to work.
Right. Let's do this from the top. Name.
The Earth Pony blinked.
Rusty Nail.
I'm a royal guard. I'll have a sir off you, thank you very much.
Rusty frowned.
Rusty Nail, sir.
Shut it. Occupation.
Metallurgist, sir.
Excellent.
Silverwing looked behind him to the open door for a moment, before turning back to the pony opposite him, opening the folder.
Rusty Nail. You've been charged with multiple accounts of causing bodily harm to other ponies. Multiple counts of attempting to cause bodily harm to other ponies, causing grievous bodily harm to a number of royal guards, both on duty and off duty. Resisting arrest. Attempting to resist arrest for however long it took you running around before you actually got arrested. Further attempts to resist arrest by making loud and obnoxious noises. Further attempts to resist arrest by making loud and obnoxious smells. Attempting to act of taking things that didn't belong to you and attempting to assist in the process, escape, and soon to be short-lived success of a small number of small ponies in the same act of taking things that don't belong to them either.
Silverwing quirked an eyebrow at the prisoner.
What have you got to say for yourself?
Rusty wasted no time with tactics.
It wasn't me that done it, officer,
he said, almost in a deadpan. Silverwing held back a smirk.
Oh, wasn't it?
Nah, I wasn't even there. I was doing nothing.
We have very accurate intelligence that places you at...
I didn't do it.
Rusty shouted. He would have taken the table with him when he jumped forward, cuffed as he was to it, were it not for the fact that it was set directly into the stone floor. Silverwing sighed. The worst ones were the ones who deny everything, no matter the instance.
Mr. Nails, I was there at the bank myself. I saw you fleeing from the scene with a particularly guilty look on your face. You ran and you ran and you ran, and about after 3 meters, I caught you.
Yeah, well, so what? I don't have nothing on me. If you keep me here, it's wrongful imprisonment.
Imprisonment.
Silverwing corrected mentally, but restrained from doing so verbally.
Mr. Nails, I'm sure I don't have to remind you that assaulting and stealing 4.5 billion bits from the Cantelod Royal Mint is a very serious crime. Very serious, Mr. Nails.
Silverwing growled.
In fact, it couldn't be seriouser.
What?
Silverwing sat back on his comfy cushion.
Now, you're gonna tell us who your accomplices are and what they've hidden the 4.5 billion.
Rusty scowled, moving to cross his hooves over his chest before the chains on the cuffs stopped him.
Yeah? Who says I know anything?
I have interrogated hundreds of petty criminals over the years.
Silverwing said in a neutral tone.
In your case, interested in going into theatre, I can tell you not to bother. You're a terrible actor.
Immediately forming his countenance into a blank poker face, Rusty Nails fell silent. That usually meant some pony was trying to hide something, and were very bad at hiding the fact that they were hiding something. The lieutenant felt gratified to have been proven right. He continued.
So, we know you have the information. All that remains is for you to tell us. Simple as that.
He felt a smug smirk bubbling up, and managed to stifle it before it could show.
The sooner you tell us, the sooner we can all be on our respective ways.
After a long pause, the prisoner hesitantly spoke up.
What happens to me if I tell you?
You go to prison for as long as the judge sees fit, combined with wherever fine the judge sees fit, and community service, should the judge see fit. It's all up to the judge, really.
Rusty looked as if he'd just been slapped.
To heck with that, I'm not telling you anything.
The lieutenant shrugged.
Suit yourself.
The sound of hooves echoed behind him, signaling the arrival of another pony.
We have ways of making you talk.
He turned to the newcomers, a light blue Pegasus stallion in standard lower-ranking steel armor, and a unicorn mare, perhaps one of the castle staff. The unicorn was levitating a pair of large metal boxes and was visibly straining from the effort, casting a questioning glance his way.
Just plunk them down wherever,
Silverwing said, gesturing around the room. Almost immediately, the metal boxes dropped to the ground with a pair of almighty thunks. Her heavy breathing fluttering her bangs in front of her half-closed eyes, the mare almost crawled out of the room, followed by a groan when she reached the dungeon stairs. Any further unprofessionalism was obscured by the sound of the iron door slamming shut. The blue Pegasus pushed the two boxes together facing the table, and stood to attention. A fretful look on his face, Rusty nodded to the boxes.
What's in them?
He asked. Silverwing leveled his gaze at the prisoner's eyes.
Play this right, and you needn't find out now. Who are your accomplices?
I don't know.
Where's the money?
I don't know.
Corporal!
Silverwing shouted suddenly.
Open the first box.
Corporal saluted, then leaned down and opened the box with his hoof, and stood back to attention in one practiced move. Rusty's eyes widened, for inside the box was... Silverwing nodded curtly.
I see. You are now aware of your predicament. Are you going to help us now, or shall we continue?
The criminal began tugging at his chains in panic, trying in vain to break free from his dungeon.
You can't do this to me. This ain't legal.
I assure you, I have orders from the very top.
Rusty could only squeak in response, the rustling of his hoof cuff chains becoming more and more frantic. Beside the corporal were two metal boxes. One was closed. Inside the other was a small, magic crystal-powered silver fridge. Now that the front of the box had been opened, a gentle humming filled the room, letting the more observant ponies amongst them know that the fridge was indeed powered on. Silverwing set his face into a slight scowl, eyes never leaving the emerald orbs before him. The expression tended to help with these sorts of situations he unfortunately found himself in far too often for his liking. Nevertheless, it was his duty to do what he must.
Now, have you anything to share with us?
No.
The prisoner stammered.
Who are your accomplices?
No.
Where is the money?
I don't know.
Corporal, fetch the oven mittens and the large tongs with the rusty hinges.
The lieutenant bellowed, saluting once more. The blue Pegasus trotted over to the door and knocked. After a moment, the door swung inward, and the Pegasus disappeared through it, reappearing but a few seconds later with a pair of pink, frilly oven mitts over both forehooves and some heavy-looking metal tongs in his mouth. He stood back in his place and snapped to attention just as the door slammed back shut. Watching the whole performance with a horrified look on his face, Rusty Nail seemed unable to take his eyes off the corporal.
What's the tongs for?
His question was barely above a whisper.
Well, Mr. Nails, have any revelations in the past few moments?
Rusty shook his head furiously, lip quivering.
What you gonna do to me?
Who are your...
I don't know!
The earth pony bellowed.
Where is the money?
I don't... Please.
Corporal!
For the first time since the lower-ranking guard had entered, Silverwing turned to look at the other Pegasus.
Open the fridge.
No. Don't open the fridge. Don't open the fridge.
The corporal opened the fridge.
No.
Rusty wailed, for inside the fridge, almost concealed by the cold fridge mist, was row upon row of green fizzy drink cans. Small crystals of ice clung to the cans, with larger snow-like mounds lurking in the corners of the fridge. The lieutenant rested both forehooves on the table, leaning forward.
Mr. Nails, we know that you know what we need to know. And that you know that we know what we know to know and why. So I'm gonna ask you one final time.
His eyes glinted dangerously.
If you don't comply, things will proceed to get very uncomfortable for you. Do you understand?
It was difficult to tell whether the rapid movements of Rusty's head were that of nodding in agreement or that of shaking in fear and cold.
Do you understand, Mr. Nails?
Rusty gulped.
What's the other box for?
Silverwing leaned back into his comfy cushion again.
I suppose you'll see shortly. Final chance. Anything you want to confess?
In response, Rusty just shook his head side to side, seemingly unable to trust himself to speak. Silverwing nodded, standing up and circling around to his colleague.
So be it. Corporal, you may begin.
No.
Saluting again, the corporal took the large tongs between the oven mitts carefully, ever so carefully, picked up the nearest drink can and took it out of the fridge, maneuvering it as if it were dangerous, unstable material.
No, please, no.
You will tell us what we want to hear.
No.
You will tell us, Mr. Nails.
No, you can't, please.
Or this fizzy drink will be pressed against your face.
No, please.
And the information will be forced out of you.
I wasn't, no.
Rusty Nails was practically frothing at the mouth.
You can't do this to me.
Oh, but I can.
Silverwing proclaimed, unbridled glee evident in his voice.
I can, Mr. Nails.
The lieutenant approached the remaining unopened metal box.
And what's more, we can do it over and over and over. For you see, we have but 15 fizzy drinks available, and over time, as they are pressed against your face, they will begin to warm.
Behind his tears, a spark of hope was lit in the eyes of the broken Rusty Nails.
You mean the cans will warm up?
He sniffed.
They won't be cold no more.
Silverwing smiled.
Yes, Mr. Nails, the used cans will be warm, and we can't put them back in the fridge, can we?
Hesitantly, the earth pony shook his head. The lieutenant opened the door to the second metal box. Inside was another fridge. The fridge was empty.
This, Mr. Nails.
Silverwing proclaimed.
This is where we'll put the used cans. A second fridge.
No!
The used cans will cool down again separately to the first fridge until they too reach the optimum torture temperature of fizzy drink cans.
No!
Yes, Mr. Nails. Then the cans will be used over again.
No! No!
Corporal, press the fizzy drinks can against his face.
No!
One way or another, the Royal Guards get the job done. They protect the people of Equestria from each and every threat, foreign and domestic. They did their duty to the best of their ability. They upheld the law, the justice, and the will of the crown. One way or another. The end.